Louis, you're still here. Okay, because I see something you put in the chat.
Oh, I was
Laundry.
going, yeah, it was in regards to John's deal. I guess I came in a little later. Um, but I guess he was doing the laundromat, and I was going to bring up the question right now on back of the napkin, Tanya. So I get a call from an agent, new agent. She's a residential agent, but she took up her first listing and it ends up being a laundromat on the bottom, uh, housing unit on top. So it's a three-bedroom on top. It's right here locally in SoCal, down in our area, or not in your area. You're up in Palm Springs, but here. Uh, and she's calling me because they said, "Oh, call Louis. Maybe he could help you out." And right off the bat, she tells me it was already listed for 6 months and it didn't sell. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. Now the seller wants it for more money than what originally was listed 6 months ago. She took this listing because she was, newbie. I get it. I said you were hungry, but the issue when I looked at the laundromat, so the laundromat, the owner is saying is doing 233 a year, 233,000. She would like to get 999, a little under a million for the laundromat and 1.85 for the residential. But other people that she talked to told her it was overpriced. My thing was real quick to next 8 minutes was back of the napkin valuation for the property. Like, how would you do it quickly? Because we have two different assets. I don't know if you've done those, Tanya. I don't even know if my question. You have the biz up down below, and then you have it, and they're selling it like you know together
Yeah,
deal.
the real estate or
Mixed use, right? I guess.
yeah, I mean mixed use, but I again, I don't really the real estate side of things is not my specialty.
Okay.
My specialty is more the business side of things. So I am learning, now that all of us had to get CoStar and all that, I will learn a lot more about commercial because if I have to pay for something, I'm going to make sure it pays for itself.
Yeah,
So
you
I'm
guys.
doing a lot more commercial property than I have in the past. But I would say just initially off the bat, I would reach out to one of my friends who's a commercial expert and have them value the property. I would value the business and I would look at what makes sense. Um, that's just how I would typically do it
Yeah. Yeah, I
initially.
agree with you 100%. So I've done a ton of mixed use for loan underwriting, for estate planning purposes. You essentially need to carve things out, Louis, because an investor coming in is going to look at the bottom line, which is the income. It's an investment, so they're going to have to look at the investment value. And the investment here is that you have several things that are moving, right? You've got a business, it's got value, it's assets. I don't know what the numbers look like, but that investor is going to look at, the bottom line, what those numbers look like. Then the other component of it, of the equation, is the actual real property. And then what is that value based on the income that it's generating? If you're saying 8 units, are those 8 units at market level? Are they below market? Are they above market? What's tenant flight risk is like? So you have to weigh a lot of things out when you're doing the valuation, but you have to carve it out because you've got different components happening here now. So value the business separately, and then value the mixed use portion of the real estate separately. So you've got retail, residential over residential. I mean, you got residential over retail, mixed use. So that's the one component you have to do a valuation on. You can find comps and CoStar all day long for those types of buildings. So it's not an issue. The key thing is the income and the rents. Are they at market? Are they below market? Or are they above market? And what's that tenant flight risk looks like? And then, of course, the business, if you've done business valuations before, then it should be a walk in the
Well, that's the issue. So it's not even units up above. It's just a three-bedroom, two-bath house, right? Or however she built it. Like I said, it was an agent that called me. I just told her, I'm like, wow, you took a real difficult one for your first one. I go, it's going to be tough. I mean, if I kind of had to tell her, I go, John had it for 6 months, and now now Tanya wants an additional 200,000 on top of what John had it. I'm sure John knows what he was doing. He marketed it. Now I'm going to take the listing. What am I going to do better? And what am I going to tell Tanya why she's justifying 200,000 more. So,
Yeah.
right now I
How,
came to this and I heard you talk about it, but I don't, I mean, I'm really probably not going to, I already told her, you reach out to me for other stuff. I can help you, but, peace be, Godspeed, whatever you, I don't think it's good. I don't think,
this
I've
is
been to Tanya's
doable.
enough. I've been
I,
to
I,
Tanya's enough where you have to get these sellers in the right setting. I'm like, yeah, it's already bad when I don't
yeah.
know how you could justify another 200,000 and it's been on the market. So,
But it
but
also sounds like the business is overpriced. If he's doing, didn't you say he was doing like 300,000 in gross revenue and he wants 1 million for it?
exactly, yeah, that's where,
You
yeah.
don't get, I mean, John, you sold Coin Laundry, so did you get a 3 times gross on your
Um,
Coin Laundry?
I actually did. But here's the thing. I think the key thing is to really look at the different characteristics of the business, its location, the rents in place. So there's a whole lot of variables that drives that multiplier up, as we know. There are valuation detractions, and how do they come into play? If this business, there is no competing businesses around it. Um, there is something to be said about the existing infrastructure for a coin laundry business, right? That infrastructure in place is very, very valuable. I mean, think about having to go in and build out a new space that is going to be a laundromat. You have to get approvals, then you have to do the installation of all the plumbing and the piping and the electrical. Then you need equipment. I mean, think about it from that perspective. And there is a lot of value that you haven't considered. So, yeah, he may be asking too much, but there may be a buyer that might want to be, might consider it, and then you have to start negotiating. That's where really our skills come into play, is to be able to bring a buyer to the table, to bring them to bring the seller a buyer that's actually, has the funds to pull the trigger in the event that this deal could go forward. I think if you bring in a realistic buyer to the seller, and it makes sense what you have, what you have to start But basically, what I'm saying is that you need to start negotiating. That's the key thing. There's value there, but you just have to understand where the value is.
No.
Corn laundry operations are very, very unique. Um, so I'm happy to bounce the bat with you back and forth, Louis, if you want. I gave you my phone number. If I can help you, I can pull up some comps for you for where do you say you're in Oakley?
No. I'm down here. It's in Long Beach, John. But
Oh,
honestly, I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, I'm looking at my notes that I took down. It's a 19-20 billion. I mean, there might be some value, but right? Everything has a price to sell. And if it's listed for 6 months with someone else, I'm sure that person. This was just an agent that was referred to me, and I said I'll help her out with other stuff. A phone call away, but uh, I might pick your brain just to see. But like you're saying, okay, start negotiation, but the buyer you would have to use your marketing to a buyer. What are we going to market? And from what the agent said, there's two books, right? There's the cookbooks and the good books, and that's already. I'm like, oh, this is already. I'm like, I'm like Nancy. You started. I get it. It's your first deal. You're hungry, but like you took like it's one of those like, oh, and you're a resident, and she's a residential agent, so it's not
Yeah,
one that she's already. So
yeah,
I
right.
appreciate it, John. No, thank you. That's
of
why
course,
I didn't want
absolutely.
to talk
Yep.
about it, but you had mentioned the laundromat, so and we were
No,
trying to.
and coin laundries are, they are unique and they're definitely in high demand.
High
Um,
demand.
but
Yes.
one of the
Speaking of
other issues
self-storage,
with
it's
them is,
similar.
yeah, and
Yeah.
one of the other issues on coin laundry is, the age of the equipment. Because if all the machines in there are all 20, 25 years old, then you've got a lot of
That's even
investment
something.
that's gonna have
That's
to
what I
happen.
mentioned to her. That's what I mentioned to Nancy, and she's like, "Oh, well, the owner said, the new buyer can add some money into it." And I'm like, wait. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that like red flag. I'm seeing red, yellow, green, every type of flag coming out. I'm just like, okay, I'll help you out. But appreciate it. Thank you, Tanya. Thanks you, John. Thank everybody else.
Hey, Louis.